Locke Meredith. I'd like to invite you to join me on the next Legal Lines, where my guest is Judge Kelly Balfour. Judge Balfour is running for the First Circuit Court of Appeal. He's currently a trial judge here in the 19th JDC. The election is 11/5, November 5. So join us on the next Legal Lines with Judge Kelly Balfour. Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates has served our community by airing Legal Lines, a community educational program for 18 years weekly to Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas. Watch Legal Lines at LockeMeredith.com or Cox Channel 1004. Hi, I'm Sean Fagan of Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates. When insurance companies have been unfair, we've never been afraid to go to trial. Fighting hard to protect your rights, we never settle a case out of convenience. We only settle when it's right for you. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call.
Hi, I'm Mitchell Meredith. At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates, we know each case and client are unique, and that no two cases are the same. But one thing remains constant, and that is our passion to help our clients. After an accident, we know your life has changed, which is why we passionately fight to make you and your family whole. Remember, whether you hire us at all, give us a call at 272-5555. We're here to serve you.
Hello, welcome to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith, and I'm very pleased to have on the show for the first time Judge Kelly Balfour. Judge, it's wonderful to see you.
Good to see you.
19th Judicial District Court.
Yes, sir.
Is where you've been for several years now, and you've decided that you're going to run for First Circuit Court of Appeal.
Right.
And so it's two different kinds of functions, and we'll dive into that a little bit later. But just for the folks to know a little bit about you and why they care, whether or not you run and win. So tell folks kind of your history.
Yeah, so I got out of, I went to LSU undergrad and got out and worked for a couple of years over at the Louisiana Capitol as an assistant in the Legislative Fiscal Office. Worked there for a couple of years and decided to go back to school and went to law school, and I got into LSU Law School and loved it. And got out and immediately wanted to get into litigation and worked for a firm kind of down in the New Orleans area doing maritime insurance defense stuff and working on vessels and Jones Act cases, and it was really interesting. But the New Orleans area wasn't for me, although I enjoyed the cases.
I've got a son who just moved to Charleston from New Orleans.
Right.
Yeah.
Charleston's a beautiful place.
Yeah,
but we came back to Baton Rouge, and I got into another litigation firm here and started doing defending insurers and defending individuals in lawsuits all throughout the Baton Rouge and Capital City region, and really throughout the rest of the state, and had a pretty extensive practice trying and jury trials and bench trials for a various number of cases. And did that for, I want to say 4 or 5, maybe 6 years, and then went off and joined another practice on my own at the law office of O.C. Brown. And there I represented individuals who were injured in accidents. But
you
also
saw the light.
Yeah, well, from one side, I have a number of engineers and architects in my family as well. So I did some design professional defense for them, and a lot of building construction cases where I was representing either the engineer who designed any of the foundation or the architecture that stamped the plans and those types of cases. So that gets a whole lot of different types of cases and litigation and experience, and did that for a good period of time. I opened my own firm, I want to say in 2014 or 15, and then from there merged with a friend of mine from college, and was Balfour M&A attorneys at law right up until I decided to run for judge.
And when you ran for the first time, you were unopposed.
Yeah, I was very fortunate.
You scared everybody off.
That is, some people do say that, but I will say this is my experience litigating in this area. It's as you know, there are really great lawyers and people here in the Capital region, not just in Baton Rouge, but from the Gonzales, Prairieville area to the Livingston area, up in St. Francisville, over to the 18th JDC over in Port Allen, down to Plaquemine, just everything around this area. And really, really good lawyers, and I was fortunate enough.
And the seat of government,
right,
within the jurisdiction.
Yeah, there's so much that goes on in and around here, and so I was able to meet a lot of people, and fortunate enough that I believe that they were okay with me indicating that I wanted to run, and so I had a lot of support, a lot of people that signed on, and as the joke one side is they might have scared some off, but I think that also had a very good base of support that people were
Well, you have a good
willing.
foundation to be a judge.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that go into being a judge, and naively, even when I was, practicing in courts across the state for 20 or so years, you just see the front of the house stuff, right? You see the judge take the bench, rule on that issue, and most of the time the lawyers leave because that's the only case they have on the docket. I did a good bit of criminal work too, and you see them run a docket that way. And I say naively, I didn't realize how much went on behind the scenes, how much prep, how much work that goes into being a good, honest, learned jurist, on the court. Because if you just think of it as
There's a
one
lot of
pleading,
ball here juggling.
yeah, there's a lot going on, right? And so, yeah, the idea of having a base and a foundation for getting in there, I think it is key, or it certainly helped me, was having that background being in the courtroom.
Well, you belong to a lot of professional groups that
Right.
are legal related, both prior to becoming a judge and subsequent to being a judge. Tell the folks about them real quick.
Yeah, so before I ran and was elected, I was a member. I had some leadership roles with Louisiana State Bar Association, and I like to be involved with that organization. Though they're based in New Orleans, I kind of joke that I didn't want all New Orleans lawyers running the organizations for the state. But there's obviously some great lawyers down there, and it's a really good group of people that kind of keep our profession going. But that was on a statewide level. I also was on the board for the Baton Rouge Bar Association, which I really enjoyed and was close to my heart. The guys, men and women that run that organization, we give back so much through charities, through holiday star programs, through the Belly Up to the Bar
Amen.
program, to all other types of things, giving out wills and advice for veterans, and it's a way for the local bar to give back to the local area. So I really enjoyed that work and was able to meet even more lawyers that I wouldn't see in the courtroom. Like, there's so much that you can do. Say you're a real estate attorney, I'm never going to see you in the courthouse, or as the real estate lawyers would say, they hope, right? But you'd see a wider mix of people. And so in my practice and what I did, I was able to see and meet a whole lot of the members of our bar and had their support.
Once you were elected to your judicial role,
Yeah.
It's interesting. You actually wear 3 hats, judge hats,
Yeah.
which are, as I understand it, civil.
Yeah.
And what else?
So here in the 19th, we have a unique court, whereas our family court is separated out. There's an independent family court. Juvenile court is an independent court. It's up by the airport. And so we're really left with a criminal and civil docket. I was on the criminal docket for a number of years and then moved over to a civil docket after some period of time. And I was a deputy chief judge for 2 years in charge of the civil docket at the 19th JDC.
And define for folks who aren't lawyers, civil, how that's distinguished from criminal. I mean, they know what a crime is, but
Right.
civil's basically just
Everything
else.
Everything else, right? So we would do anything that's not having to do with child support or family matters or divorces. Those would go to family court,
Right.
and juvenile matters are self-explanatory. But really, as you say, everything else, from be it a contract dispute, be it a restraining order or a protective order, be it an issue with 2 contractors over construction, be it an auto accident, probate, a successions, basically anything else that would come through.
What I want to do next, if we can, is talk about the roles, the different hats that you have,
Yeah.
and the roles that you play. And then we'll move into the difference between a trial court and appellate court.
Right.
So we'll do that on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith, Legal Lines. My very special guest, Judge Kelly Balfour, 19th JDC. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Mitchell Meredith. Injuries happen when you least expect them to, making your life more complicated. At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan & Associates, we know this, and we strive to help each of our clients during these times. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call at 272-5555. Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan & Associates has won for our clients over $175 million over the decades, but our greatest success is our clients who have chosen and trusted us to help them. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call. You've got nothing to lose.
I'm lawyer Collins Locke Meredith. Trust is important when hiring an injury law firm. At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan Associates, thousands have trusted us and gotten the results they deserved. Visit us at LockeMeredith.com. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call, 272-5555.
Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith. Very pleased to have on the show for the first time Judge Kelly Balfour. He's a 19th JDC judge right now, trial judge, but he's running for the First Circuit Court of Appeal. Let's dive back in, Judge.
Yes.
So you said you handle civil, but you also wear two other hats. One is what's called complex litigation. But before we talk about that one, it's what used to be called the drug court, which I think is called recovery court now.
Yeah, that's right. So within our existing kind of structure as a court, people file their motions, file their pleadings, file whatever, and go to trial, and we make an adjudication. So we found that that's not always the most efficient way of dealing with certain individuals. So we have these specialty courts where a judge takes outside of their normal docket and puts a little more time in dealing with certain areas of the law. And the recovery court, as you indicated, formerly drug court, is certainly one of those and the most well-known. Right now, Judge Will Jordan is the head of recovery court in the 19th. Judge Don Johnson had it in the past, Judge Tony Marabella, and even Billy Morvan even before him. So there's been a long line of really good judges that go through this process. I'm actually sitting as second chair, I guess, if you will. So Will and I work together. He is the main judge, but I'll step in if he can't be there for certain reasons and really have a transition available if he doesn't want to continue on doing it. Somebody is ready and able and trained up to take over. And that's they meet every week for those individuals that come through. And one of the best things about these specialty courts.
Really, they almost like a father figure.
That's
I remember
absolutely
talking
true.
to Tony Marabella. It's just.
You go through them and you hear their stories and you're trying your best outside of the penal institutions is try to get them better and back into a productive lives. And the recidivism rate is amazing.
Meaning it's a lower because y'all are able to pour into them like that.
Yeah, it's like 4%. Like if you can successfully graduate.
And it's what, 70% in the criminal world,
That's
right?
right.
At least. And it's 4% if somebody goes through drug court.
If they can successfully.
Which means they don't come back.
That's exactly right. And so we have graduation for them and they're just great successes. But we also have other courts for domestic violence court. There's also a court for veterans treatment court. We have a pretrial intervention court. But that is on one side. For a civil side, we've recently instituted what we call our complex litigation court.
Define that for folks.
Yeah, so this was an idea that Judge Wilson Fields, he's our Chief Judge Wilson Fields now, and I were working together with some members of the bar and looking at what other states around the country do. And we've got about 7, 8, 9 other states that have this model. And essentially, if you have, say here in Baton Rouge, we have a lot of the plants up and down the river. Everybody sees the Exxon or Dows. And you can imagine if there's, hopefully not, but if there is some type of issue and say a leak or
mass tort
type issue, you can have upwards of 15, 20, 30 different defendants. You can have hundreds and hundreds of plaintiffs that might be, in a class action setup. You'd have all kinds of lawyers. You multiply that by 15, 20. So you have all kinds of things. And it's hard to place that type of action, that type of matter on a regular docket. And so what we've created, we've gone to the Louisiana Supreme Court and asked them for about a 2-year pilot program that we're going to work and to move it.
They fund it for you?
They did not fund it. So That's a very good question. They said, yes, you could do it.
But we're not giving you any money.
The funding is really as court costs with the individual litigants. So the litigants would have to pay. So really what they're doing is adding a $200 fee, and we're setting it off to the side, and we're going to put more time and effort and put our hands on these files more so that it can help move it towards its ultimate resolution.
Class action falls within the domain of complex litigation?
Some. We've got, 7, 8 different factors, and we have our commissioners at the 19th JDC that'll review, determine whether or not it meets our factors. And they're not
Can you tell us what the factors are?
Yeah,
because I assume the bar would want to know this is available.
Yeah, so it's almost like the class action is a good idea if you follow that, but it would be numerosity, whether it be a whole lot of litigants, a huge volume of discovery issues, whether or not there's a lot of lawyers on one side or the other, makes it hard for scheduling. Mm-hmm. All these types of things, whether the issue is unique that needs more in-depth I guess, analysis on behalf of the court and their court staff. Some of these cases you can invoke. We have a statute in Louisiana that can invoke a special master and have a special master that can come in and hear a lot of these individuals' cases. And if they can take up, if they're going to be scheduled for trial, they could be a 3, 4, 6 week trial,
Yep.
which really upends all the other matters that are regularly going through their normal course. So this idea was, let's see if we can try a different model for these cases.
Sounds like a good idea.
I think so. And we're following the model of other states are doing. We're not making this up. We kind of had some other plans with lawyers, both on the plaintiff bar and the defense bar, to see what they would like in it. And again, Chief Judge Fields is running that. I'm sitting second with him as a deputy chair. And we're moving some of these files amongst each other because he can't take all of them.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit.
Yeah.
So you've been a trial judge now for several years, and we talked earlier that we're going to talk about the differences between being a trial judge and being an appellate court judge, like you would be on the First Circuit Court of Appeal. Tell folks kind of in a quick little thumbnail way, kind of what you do as a trial judge, and then we'll be able to distinguish that when we discuss on the next segment, the First Circuit Court of Appeal.
Certainly. So we are the court of record. So the trial court, everything that needs to be in the court, needs to be in the clerk's office, needs to be what we call in the record, has to come at the trial court level. And so the district court judge has to be the one that makes the decision on evidentiary rules.
You're the gatekeeper.
Exactly. Is it going to be let in? Is it going to be out? Is it going to be something? Is there going to be an objection on a certain question if we are in trial? Are we going to let that in, let that out? And so everything it's kind of has the baseline of what's going to make it into what we call the record that the parties are going to be able to present to the ultimate trier of fact, be that a judge if it's a bench trial or a jury if we're going to have a jury trial. And so we do that from the bench perspective pre-trial, when we have pre-trial motions and exceptions and hearings, motions to eliminate things that would exclude certain type of experts from even testifying, certain witnesses from even testifying. Lawyers sometimes make sure that the other lawyers are following the rules. And our rules of civil procedure generally are set up just so that everybody has a fair shot at trial.
Knows what the issues are, knows
Yeah.
what the evidence is likely to be.
Right. No trial by ambush types of a thing.
Right.
And I tell the lawyers when they come in my office is my goal is to give both of you an opportunity to try the best case that you can. I want you as a plaintiff's attorney to do what you can for your client, the other individual on the defense side do the best you can for your client, and hopefully I can stay out of the way. And that's kind of what I foresee my role as a district court judge, and you making sure that all the rules of evidence are followed, all the code of civil procedure rules are followed, and so the best result can come about.
All right, on the next segment, let's distinguish between when you're the judge, you're making the decision, it's a trial, bench trial versus the jury involved, and then we're going to move into the First Circuit Court of Appeal. This is Locke Meredith, Legal Lines. My very special guest, Judge Kelly Balfour. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Sean Fagan of Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan & Associates. Open the phone book or look online. There are plenty of lawyers to choose from. And if you ask any of them, they'll agree that the vast majority of claims settle without ever having gone to trial. And I'll tell you, any lawyer can settle a claim. It's not hard to settle a claim, but it takes hard work to get a client what he or she deserves. At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan & Associates, we have a proven record of working hard for our clients. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call.
I'm lawyer Collins Locke Meredith. Among the most important factors to consider when you're hiring an injury attorney is trust. You trust your attorney will put your interest first, treat you with respect, fairness, and honesty. You trust them to be there for you when you need them. At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan & Associates, thousands of clients have trusted us to represent them, and for good reasons. Please visit us at LockeMeredith.com to learn more, and whether you hire us at all, give us a call at 272-5555. You have nothing to lose.
Welcome back. This is Locke Meredith with Legal Lines and my very special guest, Judge Kelly Balfour. He's currently a 19th JDC District Court Judge, and he's running for the First Circuit Court of Appeal. Let's kind of dive back in. Quickly, if you can, Judge, distinguish between the bench trial versus the jury trial.
Yeah, so both trials are available, right, for litigants. In certain matters, you can ask for the defendant, either the defendant or the plaintiff can ask for a jury trial. In a jury trial, you would get a jury of 12 of your peers, and they would then make the decisions based on the law. I would present the law to them. They would make the rulings on the fact and make that determination.
So, for example, they decide whether or not they're going to believe a witness that testifies, or an expert, or evidence that comes in that purports to show something, et cetera.
Absolutely. So I had a jury trial last week. So I have my instructions to them are they should weigh the credibility of the jury. They can decide to believe what the jury said, what the witness says or not. And if it's a bench trial, those trials come to me. Generally, those
you're the jury.
Yes, I'll be to sit there and make all those decisions, not only on evidentiary rulings if I'm going to allow it in or out, but at the conclusion of the trial, I'll make the determination as to which side has met their burden of proof, if any. And one of the things that some lawyers will elect a bench trial even if their value and controversy warrants a jury trial, just because we are able to give bench trials a little faster. By their very nature, jury trials take a little bit more time. You have a whole day to select the jury trial. Then you have the opening statements, and you have a few more kind of, I don't want to say theatrics, but it's a lot for the lawyers to present everything for the jury, and then at the end they do their closing statements. And sometimes they can take up to a week, whereby if you present it to the bench, i.e. you try it to me, you might be able to get that same trial done in a day or 2 days.
And you can take it under advisement and, go look over something you think you need to look at again, and then render the decision.
Right. Yeah, so we have in Baton Rouge area about 17,000 civil filings a year, and you split that up amongst the 10 judges that are currently doing a civil docket. So quick math is 1,700 new cases, but we can only have, by virtue of 52 weeks a year, only a set number of trials that can actually go to trial for a jury. And so a lot of individuals resolve their cases with their lawyers, but even if they can't and they want their day in court, they're entitled to their day in court. Sometimes they don't want to wait for a jury trial, so they may waive it and get a bench trial so they can get a resolution much quicker.
And a jury trials are going to be more expensive just with collateral expenses associated with the jury.
They are. So you have to post, whoever requests the jury has to post a bond, and that really goes to the clerk's office to pay offset the cost of what it is to bring jurors in and have them there pay their fee. Usually the prevailing party is going to be able to recover if they ask for their cost from the non-prevailing party. So costs could be assessed, and if you ask for the jury, you posted the bond, you may be able to get your jury bond back.
Okay, let's shift gears now. We
Certainly.
talked about the record. That's basically the evidence that the judge has let in, and the foundation of the litigation as to who wins based on the arguments and the law as applied. That record, if a party wants to appeal it, that record is basically typed up into a book.
Yeah, and so in Louisiana, everyone is entitled to an appeal. So no matter what the case would be, whether it be a criminal case, a juvenile case, we talked about this distinctions, a family court, a civil matter, you have the right to an appeal. And here in the 19th, we're in Baton Rouge. There are 5 courts of appeal throughout the state. The area for which we sit is at the First Circuit Court of Appeal. And so it would go to the Court of Appeal. Right now, we are 12 judges on the First Circuit Court of Appeal, and it oversees, I believe, 16 different parishes. Those judges.
And a huge population.
A very
I think
big.
It's like 1/3.
It is the biggest population. It is the busiest of the courts of appeal.
Because you got the seat of government too.
That's right. So yeah, and that's a
Boy,
good
you talk
point.
about complex litigation, huh?
Yeah, that's a good point that we didn't really touch on is not only are the cases brought here in Baton Rouge, but we get a lot of the cases that are against the state of Louisiana, wherever in the state it might arise, by virtue of being the state capital. A vast majority of those cases will be filed here in Baton Rouge. And so the judges here, and then by extension, the judges on the First Circuit Court of Appeal will hear a larger percentage of those cases.
So distinguish your role as a trial judge or a judge with a jury
Right.
versus what your role will be as a First Circuit Court of Appeal judge.
Right, so the judges of the Court of Appeal, they say kind of review the cases on a cold record. So we were talking about the record earlier.
No witnesses, nobody's testifying in front of y'all, it's just that book.
Exactly.
And whatever's been introduced.
And that's why the distinction, the judge at the district court level is very important, because they're the ones that control, by virtue of their decisions, what goes in the record. But once at the Court of Appeal, they're going to review that record. and they're going to make decisions. The lawyers and the parties have to identify what they believe they're appealing, right? What is the issue? We believe that there was an error here, or we believe there was a mistake here, or something wasn't done there. And then those questions or certified issues are brought to the Court of Appeal, and they will review that record and then make their decision based upon not only the record itself, but of course the argument of counsel if they show up for oral argument, and then their briefs.
And the briefs they file in advance, plaintiff files theirs, then defense files theirs, and then there's a reply at the end. And to be able to stand before you guys, you have to meet certain criteria, as I recall.
Yeah, that's right. So they've got to make sure that they hit.
I'm not sure y'all always want to hear us.
Well, I say, so the Court of Appeal judges, certainly, they'll go through, they make sure that everything is done properly. And it's not, that is kind of the joke, but the judges only have a certain finite amount of jurisdiction, right?
15 minutes, right? You get to...
Well, to argue, but they can only decide things that are certified that they have the authority to decide. And if it's not clearly laid out that they even have the authority to do it, sometimes they'll just say, well, you haven't met the standard and we're going to have to let you out. But they try not to do that. Try to let it go on the merits to make those decisions so all the litigants at least get a decision or an answer for the things that they're asking for.
And the scope of the review by the appellate court judge it gives deference to the trial court or the jury,
right?
Unless certain conditions.
Yeah, unless it's clearly wrong or manifestly erroneous, or those are those terms of art that are used, because they're not going to sit as another court and then say what a jury did was wrong, right? The jury was the one that was able to judge the credibility of the witnesses. Exactly. That's a big thing. I can't read a book or a Court of Appeal judge a month from now, 16 months from now, and decide whether or not that particular witness was credible. That's for the person that saw it live, whether it be the judge in a bench trial or most of the time a jury.
And it's amazing, but you often hear communication, 90% of it is nonverbal.
Right.
You watch the body language, their eyes, all kinds of fidgeting, whatever.
Yeah.
And the jury or the judge is able to interpret that.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So it might read clear and sounds like he was credible to me, but everybody else, excuse me, in the courtroom thought the other way. And that's a very good point.
And so the election is on November 5, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so everybody needs to go out and vote. And there's only two parties. So this election on November 5 is going to determine. There's not going to be a subsequent election because there's only two people running.
That's right. There'll be no runoff.
Judge, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to have you. We look forward to getting you back. This is Locke Meredith Legal Lines, 19th JDC District Court running for the First Circuit Court of Appeals, Kelly Balfour. Thank you, everyone.